In studio with the fellas to examine all that we saw, and we have to start with the weather. The way that it affected this game, the way that it affected play calling, and maybe, Mac, the way that it makes you look hindsight even clearer 2020, a three-point opportunity passed up earlier in this game. You said it at the time, before we saw the forecast and before that storm rolled in. I know you've been the biggest take-the-points guy, but this one really hammers your point home.
It does, and I've been saying this since the playoffs started. You cannot coach playoff football like you coach regular season football because missed opportunities will send you home. There's no tomorrow in postseason play, and I know in a world where analytics have really taken over the game when it comes to decision-making from coaches on the sideline. And in that play in the first half, it's a 4th and long 1 situation. You have your backup quarterback in the game started in Jarrett Stidham. Your offense running the football has been horrible, to say the least. And if you're going to go for it there, Pat P., you got to have a great call. Yeah. You got to have a call that you believe that will work out more so than none. I didn't like the play call. The decision was in question, but the play call was more of a concern for me. You're running a boot to the short side of the football field. Mm-hmm. When you run a boot to the short side of the football field, you minimize your passing options. Not to mention your quarterback does not have a read to run the football because he doesn't have enough room.
Not to mention it's a backup quarterback, and you've been moving the line of scrimmage successfully for the first 15 minutes of this football game.
Yes, so I don't want to say that missed opportunity is what caused them to lose the ball game, guys. But to your point, when you look at the second half with the conditions, 3 points would have felt like 7 points in how the conditions played a major factor in this ball game. And I will continue to echo, playoff football is totally different. When you look at playoff football throughout this course of games we've all watched, the majority of these ball games have come down to one possession. Mm-hmm. One possession where those missed points in the first half, they will come back to haunt you in the second half. And unfortunately for the Broncos, that is the case with them and how they lost this ball game.
Well, you also got to think about the way the Denver Broncos defense have been playing all year long and also in this game. So they felt comfortable if they did not get the first down, their defense was going to hold up, which they did. But now looking in hindsight, getting into the second half of this ball game where points was at a premium, that's when it pretty much came a big deal. But I was more upset with you. I'm like you, Mac. I was more upset with the play call. Mm-hmm. I wasn't upset with them going forward at that situation, but rolling out to the short side of the field, cutting off half of the field for your quarterback of his reads. If anything, at least give him an opportunity to the wide side of the field to where he can at least use his legs and give the routes a little bit more time to develop.
And we just saw those miscues on the screen, I will point out, on a clean football field. Then the storm came. Right. How did we see weather affect outcomes?
So here's the thing about the New England Patriots. During their dynastic run under Bill Belichick, they had a guy named Ernie Adams who he was the chief researcher, let's call him, right? And every single time that the Patriots had a leg up on the rule book or something like that, you could look to Bill Belichick's relationship with Ernie Adams and knew that that was part of the reason why. Mike Vrabel takes over, and from Tennessee, he brings with him this guy named John Stryker. They call him Stretch. And Stretch has been an instrumental part of the New England Patriots when it comes to game strategy, okay? He's VP of football strategy, I think is his title there. And what the Patriots have done better than any other team is when you are trying to when you substitute somebody, they wait until the very last moment to match your substitution. And we saw this a couple times with the Denver Broncos. That means that you get the snap off with 1 second on the play clock. Started with the Chargers. We saw that in that playoff game. The reason I say that is because while the Patriots looked like they were not ready for this game, and I think it was because of altitude in the first quarter, right? Because the Broncos dominated them in the first 15 minutes. They were prepared for the weather. They knew that this game needed to be won in the first 30 to 45 minutes of game time because the last 15 was going to be a wash. And so that is what I saw from the Patriots. Everybody had access to the forecast. They have Doppler radar, right? And while it turned quickly for all of us watching, there is not a doubt in my mind the New England Patriots knew what that weather was about to do, and they said, we got to get as many points as we can in the first 3 quarters because we may not get an opportunity in the fourth.
We looked at 383 total yards of offense at the end of this day, fewest in a playoff game in the last 20 years. Mac, was there anything in the second half, either side? And we will get to New England because this is a moment where they elevate back to a place that they know so well off of a place that they did not, the sort of failure that they've been mired in for the better part of this last half decade. But back to this final 30 minutes of this football game. You've played in games like this, maybe the moment and the forecast not intersecting too many times in your career, but was there anything you would have liked to see done differently on either side?
I mean, for the Patriots, no, because they won the ball game. I think for the Denver Broncos, just utilizing the athleticism that Jarrett Stidham had, because that was the deciding factor for the Patriots in winning this ball game. Because when you look at the game and look at the box score, Drake Maye didn't blow you away with his passing arsenal. But what he did was he became a difference maker in the running game, improvised running, QB design running plays. Heck, that's how they scored their only touchdown, a quarterback design draw. Drake made 10 rushing attempts for 65 yards. So in a game where the conditions really impact the entire flow, 65 yards feel like 140 because those were impactful yards anytime he decided to take off and run with the football. So if I'm the Denver Broncos, where you knew throwing the football in ideal conditions would be a bit scarce with Jarrett Stidham, then in comes the snow. Now let's let Jarrett Stidham become more of an athletic player in the backfield. We saw him improvise and kind of take off on the fly, but I would love to see Sean Payton allow Jarrett Stidham to have a two-way go, throwing the football or either running the football, because that was a defining moment. Every time Drake Maye ran the football, Pat P, it was crucial, impactful yards. And like I said, he might have gained 5, but in those conditions, it felt like 15.
Yeah.
It felt like 15, and not to mention it extended those said offensive drives. I believe in a game where you couldn't throw, you couldn't see, maybe your quarterback, who could be a +1 in the running game, should have been called more to do so.
And you make a great point there, Mac, and it leads me to a question that we'll never have the answer to, and it brings you back to the what-if Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And this Broncos fan base is going to have all offseason to mull over that question and try and make peace with what just happened on this football field. Not that we'll ever know the outcome, but does Bo Nix allow you to do what Mac's talking about a little bit more than Jarrett Stidham?
100%, because we've seen that all year long with the creativity, the improv, and being able to create extra time for his receivers down the field, and also being able to take off as well, being that 11th player that a defense had to count for. So missing Bo Nix in this game was huge for this offense, because now when you're coming in with your backup quarterback, the game plan is different. As much as offensive coordinators, as much as head coaches like to talk about, oh, we're going to run the same thing, we love his process, they're not running the same thing or the same offense as they did with Bo Nix in there. So missing Bo Nix was a huge, huge miss.
JJ, as we sit here and mull over what we saw, we're looking at something we've seen so many times before. Robert Kraft accepting the Lamar Hunt Trophy. We will get you that trophy ceremony here shortly on CBS Sports HQ. But I'm taken back to a decision made, and one that felt like it had to be made, but was a knee-jerk in reaction to a single season of Drake Maye. You make a firing. You go back in-house, what it feels like, with Mike Vrabel, a part of the Patriot family. You make that hiring, and here you are, some 12, 14 months later, headed back to that place you know so well.
What the New England Patriots, what Robert Kraft did, let's go back to it. Let's go ahead and recap, because it's been a while. Bill Belichick is essentially fired, right? He's told, we don't need your services anymore. And Drake Maye had in his contract that he would be the coach in waiting. So in that final year, year and a half, two, it got kind of awkward within the building, right? And so Drake Maye takes over. And they win, I think, the first game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and everybody feels great. And then the season just went off the rails. And Robert Kraft decided to fire Drake Maye about 45 minutes after the final game of the season, because he had his eye on Mike Vrabel, who at the time was a coaching consultant with the Cleveland Browns. He knew that Mike Vrabel was going to be one of the most sought-after coaches out there. There was Ben Johnson, there was Aaron Glenn, and there was Mike Vrabel. And so he did what he had to do, Robert Kraft did, to be in position to hire Mike Vrabel as quickly as possible. He was the first coach off the list last year because he knew that that guy is a game changer. He knew that the Tennessee Titans made an enormous mistake in firing Mike Vrabel, and more specifically, that the owner of the Tennessee Titans made an enormous mistake in firing Mike Vrabel, thinking that she could not get over the hump with him as head coach. How's that working out? Now, you get him, and he's a program changer. He had a program changer for a quarter century in Bill Belichick, and he saw that there was one out there who would come up under his roof, and he had to go get him. That's exactly what he did, and that's why they're here right now.
It is the largest year-over-year win improvement in NFL history, taking into account regular season and postseason play. 13 wins a year over. and finding their way to a Super Bowl Sunday once again. Mac, we got plenty more coming here on CBS Sports HQ, but in what you've seen from New England, not in this 60 minutes, it was ugly football. They found a way.
Yep.
In this season, to be able to turn it around and believe in a head coach and believe in a quarterback, is there a through line to this success this time around that you saw last time around, up close and personal with those Patriots dynasties of old?
Yeah, they had the same thing. When you look at the Patriots of old, with Belichick and Tom Brady, this current group of New England Patriots, they have the same thing. They have a head coach, they have a quarterback.
Careful now.
That's it.
Careful now.
And I'm not forecasting the amount of championships that Belichick and Tom Brady
but
won.
A pair that can get you here.
Yeah, it's about getting to the opportunity, right? Because when Tom Brady left, clearly the mindset that we can get to an opportunity evaporated. Right? And then, of course, the coaching changed. To your point, JJ, bringing in Drake Maye didn't work out. And now you got your coach, and now we're seeing a better who? Drake Maye. Drake Maye looks totally different than what we saw in his rookie campaign. He looks more comfortable. He has a control on the offense. And it wasn't just about Vrabel coming back. What about Josh McDaniels? Right? Those are key additions who were a part of the dynasties that we all watch. Key components for their success under Belichick. Robert Kraft said, "No, I'm not only going to bring back a former homegrown player, but other key components to the coaching staff and Josh McDaniels, who's gotten a hold on Drake Maye, and because of that, Drake Maye has been in the MVP conversation." So when you get those two things right, when you look at the turnarounds that we've watched throughout the entire entertaining NFL season, turnaround with Chicago, they got a coach, they got a quarterback, right? When you look at what's going on with Seattle, they got a coach, they got a quarterback. When you look at the Patriots, coach, quarterback. When you have those two things, you will have wins, right? And that's what we're seeing right now with the New England Patriots.
I'm just taken back to snowy scenes of my childhood where a dynasty was launched in inclement weather. Now, there was a call there, a tuck.
Can you spare Jets fans?
No controversy in this one. This was the Patriots, plain, simple, and clean as they get to their 12th Super Bowl Sunday in franchise history. Everybody wants to jump back into that dynasty pool. So much work to be done, and it begins in 2 weeks in Santa Clara. Plenty more coming here on CBS Sports HQ. Straight ahead, we'll take you out to the trophy ceremony where the Lamar Hunt Trophy is back in New England. Plus, Tony Romo standing by with thoughts from your AFC title game.